Today on The Big Story, are you better off today than the generation before you? The Ministry of Finance has the answers. Thai king strips his royal consort of all titles for being disloyal. And finally, more women in Singapore are freezing their eggs. Find out why. A very good afternoon and welcome to The Big Story, where we discuss the hottest topics of the day and explain why it matters. I'm Haryanto, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. Now, the Ministry of Finance released a report today studying the socio-economic characteristics of Singaporeans born between 1940 and 1979. In general, it found that each age group was better off than the generation before them. For example, if I'm in my 40s now, my median monthly income is $5,900. But my elder brother, who is just 10 years older than me, he would have made $3,500 when he was my age. Now have a look at the right-hand column for those in their 40s and the middle column for people in the 50s. To tell us more about the findings of the report, I have senior political correspondent Grace Ho with me. Welcome, Grace. Now, Grace, this is the first time that you're here on The Big Story.
Indeed.
Nervous?
All right.
Don't worry, don't be. We've got this covered, yeah? Grace, maybe as a start, if you could tell us, what is one or probably two things that struck you the most from this report?
Well, if the report can be summed up in one word, it's progress. Progress made across 4 generations of Singaporeans, starting with those in the pioneer generation in the 70s, then those in the 60s, the 50s, and finally the 40s. People who are now in the 40s fared better across all these measures, from higher levels of educational attainment to higher incomes, better salaries, higher levels of CPF savings, and they also live longer and healthier.
Right.
So, all in all, not a bad thing.
Yeah, and there's something interesting that we found, especially with regard to owning property. Right? Even though we see that there is an increase in better salary, like you mentioned, but in terms of owning property, it seems to have a little dip. Tell us more about that.
So Singaporeans in the 40s now have experienced, the proportion of them anyway, has fallen by about 5% compared to those in the 50s, in terms of those who own at least one residential property. There could be a number of reasons for this, so it's not clear at this point. It could very well be that some prefer to rent rather than to buy. Or it could be that more of them are actually living with parents in homes which are owned by their parents, because going by that measure, one is not counted as the property owner. But all is not lost, because those in the 40s are still very economically active. They're drawing a salary, and there are many more years in which to accumulate their CPF savings. So there is the opportunity for them to actually purchase, a flat, for instance, later on.
And Chris, why is it important that the MOF conducts this study? What do they hope to get from this study here?
Well, I think one of the findings of the studies is that family sizes are getting smaller, and fewer people are having babies, fewer people are getting married or getting married at a later age. So what this means is that over time, the immediate support that you can get from your family could decline. And as a result, on the personal level, Singaporeans will have to be self-reliant, look out for their retirement plan, and make sure that they accumulate enough savings so that they can live their years well. But I think from a policy perspective, it's also about providing and continuing to provide that additional support to those, for instance, in the bottom 20% of income earners who may have issues with retirement adequacy. Also for the aged, because with longer life expectancies, there'll be a high proportion of older people. And they too will need additional care for chronic healthcare issues. So not to say that these are measures which have not been undertaken already, but I think one of the points which the report acknowledges is that these are policies which need to adapt with time and evolve as more info on how these generational changes occur across the different cohorts.
Okay. Thanks, Grace, for coming on to the show. That was not too bad, right? Wasn't as nerve-wracking.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, of course. Once again, thank you so much, for coming on to the show to tell us a bit more about the findings from the MOF report. Now, to read more and get more details on the findings of the MOF report, you can visit our website at www.straitstimes.com. Once again, Grace, thank you so much for coming on. Now, moving on, Thailand's King Maha Vajiralongkorn has stripped his 34-year-old consort, Sinanat Wangwacharapak, of all titles for being ungrateful to the king, according to a royal command issued yesterday. Miss Sinanat was bestowed the Royal Noble Consort title less than 3 months ago, now the first such appointment in almost a century. According to the Royal Gazette, she was trying to sabotage the appointment of Queen Sutida and had overstepped in the affairs of the royal couple. She was also accused of misusing the king's name for her own gain. Yeah, to tell us more about Miss Sinanat, I have Indochina Bureau Chief with me, Tan Hui Yi. Hui Yi, now she's live from Bangkok. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Hui, thanks for coming on to our show. Now, Hui, if you could tell us, what is Miss Sinanat's background? Who was she before she was appointed the royal consort?
Well, Miss Sinanat was born near Unprom in the northern province of Nan. Her nickname is Koi, which means little finger. She graduated from the Royal Thai Army Nursing College and worked as a nurse from 2008 to 2012. After that, she joined the Royal Household Bureau. She was working in the palace's handicraft store. As a member of the King's Royal Bodyguard unit, she was given the rank of Major General this May. She has undergone a fair bit of military training. She underwent jungle warfare and parachuting training, for example, and she is also a qualified pilot. This July, she was appointed Royal Noble Consort. In August, the palace released her official biography and a series of candid photos, which caused quite a stir in Thailand.
And Hui, if you could tell us, what were some of the duties that she have to undertake?
Well, she was given the task of leading the King's volunteer program that's called Jit Asa. These volunteers all wear a uniform of a yellow scarf and a blue cap. They clean canals, they scrub pavements, they plant mangroves, a whole range of activities. And they can also be deployed as ushers in big public events. There are at least 5 million of these volunteers in Thailand. The palace also runs an annual winter festival called Aira. That's an event that's heavy on nostalgia and is held near the palace in Bangkok. People are encouraged to wear traditional Thai outfits there. So just last week, Miss Sinanat was appointed by the king as the lead advisor for this festival.
And what's the reaction of people in Bangkok since the news broke?
The Thai media have been reporting on this in a fairly straightforward manner. In social media, people have tried to comment on it using coded terms. One of the trending hashtags on Twitter is Save Koi. Now, this is not a surprise, as Thailand has a very strict law against insulting or defaming the royal family. Anyone found guilty can be jailed for up to 15 years on each count. In 2015, for example, a man was sentenced to 30 years in prison for this offense. So people are very careful about what they say in public on anything related to the palace.
Thank you so much, Hui, for coming on to tell us more about the case, that with regard to King Maha Vajiralongkorn and Miss Sinanat. And certainly Hui is reporting to us live all the way from Bangkok via Skype. Once again, thank you so much, Hui, for coming on to the show. Now, for more on this, you can visit our website at straitstimes.com. Now, moving on to our last segment, women who feel they have yet to meet Mr. Right may have the possible option to freeze their eggs in Singapore in the future. The government is carefully reviewing the possibility of allowing women to freeze their eggs here for non-medical reasons. Those who stand to benefit from this would be women who are not able to find a partner when they are younger and may wish to conceive if they marry later. In Singapore, women can freeze their eggs only for medical reasons, such as having to undergo chemotherapy, which may adversely affect fertility. With the current ban here, a small group of singles has gone to fertility centres abroad to freeze their eggs. Now, to tell us more, I have Senior Social Affairs Correspondent Teresa Tan with me. Welcome, Teresa.
Hi, Jan.
So nice to be back here again. I think this is our second time perhaps on Big Story, yeah?
Probably so.
Yeah. Now, Teresa, if you could start us, why is there a ban on social egg freezing in Singapore?
I think the government has various concerns. I think first and foremost is that they're afraid that couples will delay parenthood even more, and egg freezing is not a 100% guarantee that you can have a child as and when you want it. So that's one concern, and then of course there is all the risks of pregnancy at an older age. So I guess those are the two main concerns the government has.
Right. And why is the government now reviewing the possibility of lifting this ban? Why now?
Why now? Yeah. Okay, good question. Okay, according to the Ministry of Social and Family Development, they are saying that they acknowledge that there are women out there who want to get married when they're younger, but they just can't find Mr. Right, and they still want to be mothers. So this gives them an option to preserve their fertility. So that's one reason. And the other thing is that a lot of advances have been made in egg freezing over the years, and the procedure is no longer considered experimental by very influential industry bodies. So there's a proven track record to the success rates of egg freezing. But I think the key reason is that our Singapore's dismal birth rates. You keep hearing like Singapore need more babies. You hear that over and over again. So I think the government is taking various steps over the years and even very recently to try to encourage the stock. For example, in August they announced the lifting of the IVF ban on women.
Which you reported on.
That's
as well,
right, on women aged 45 and above, which was quite a major move considering that the ban has been around for past 20 years.
Now focusing on the singles who have actually done social egg freezing but not in Singapore, you've spoken to them as well. Could you share a bit more on that?
Well, they are mostly women in their 30s, professional women who really want to be a mother, but they cannot find Mr. Right, have not found Mr. Right, or the person they are dating, they're not sure if Mr. Right. So, but they are very aware that as every year passed, the biological clock is ticking. So after thinking long and hard, they've decided to freeze their eggs, and it's a very, very tedious and costly process. First, it's not allowed in Singapore, right? So they have to go overseas, some go to Malaysia, which is nearer and cheaper, but others travel as far as Australia to do the procedure, and some go to Thailand, Bangkok especially. So the process I mentioned is tedious and costly. So it involves hormonal jabs, injections for a period of time to stimulate the production of eggs. And then once you get more eggs, the eggs are retrieved by a medical professional through the IVF way, and then they are frozen through the process called vitrification, and then they are stored. And storage costs money every year. So I think in Malaysia, the clinics reportedly charge between 15,000 ringgit to 25,000 ringgit for the procedure. So
that is about 5,000 Sing thereabouts,
the price aside, I guess it's the pain. It's not a fun process, the pain that women go through. It really shows how much they want to be mothers.
Now hopefully, of course, we will hear more about as of now it is still in its reviewing stages, and hopefully soon enough we'll be able to get some form of a decision that's been made on this. To read more on this, of course, you can visit our website at straitstimes.com. Now those were the top stories for the day. For more news and videos, of course, do head onto our website at straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Haryanto, and thanks for tuning in. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.